Welcome and thank you for joining us today. We are excited to have you here as part of our Pathlock Innovation Series. We have several sessions coming up today, so I'm going to put a link in the chat right now. You can look at the schedule of events for the day if there's any other sessions you want to join. For right now, we have a session titled PeopleSoft in the Cloud, how all roads lead there and how to be prepared. Our presenter today is Arvind Rajan, who will introduce himself in just a moment. And with that, I have a few housekeeping items. In order to prevent background noise, everyone is on mute. If you have any audio issues during this webinar, please click on Preferences and then Audio, and you can then click on the control panel to click play, and that should tell you your speaker options. This presentation should take approximately 40 minutes, and there will be a Q&A session following the presentation. So if you would like to have any questions, please type them into the question box on your control panel, and our speaker will answer those at the end of the event. And with that, I'll turn the time over to Arvind.
Thank you so much, and good morning. Welcome, everybody. My name is Arvind Rajan. I am co-founder and CEO of Astute Business Solutions. Astute Business Solutions is an Oracle partner. We've been in business for 17 years, and my co-founders and I, we worked for PeopleSoft prior to the Oracle acquisition. So when we started this business way back when, we led with PeopleSoft implementation in managed services. And over the years, our focus has shifted to helping our PeopleSoft customers take advantage of cloud, modernize their applications and infrastructure in the cloud, get more value out of their PeopleSoft applications, and also helping some of our customers transition to the next generation ERP, that is software as a service. And today, I'm going to talk to you about what we see as a partner happening in the PeopleSoft community, in the PeopleSoft user base, and why every PeopleSoft customer is thinking about cloud, doing something about cloud, and what they're doing to get to cloud. So let's get started. And we'll jump right into the topic, and I'll have some introductory slides about our company towards the end. I thought it'd be great to just dive straight in and start talking about why we think the road from PeopleSoft leads to cloud. So before I go into the next slide, I think it's fairly obvious today that no customer is a stranger to cloud, right? About 6 years ago, when we started working on cloud migrations, most of my conversations back then with customers were focused on trying to convince customers what cloud meant for PeopleSoft and why they should migrate. And cloud was quite new for many customers, at least in their back office enterprise IT services. Fast forward to 2022, and now we are heading into 2023. I think every customer that we talk to today is familiar with cloud. They already have a cloud infrastructure presence with Oracle, with Amazon, with Azure, with Google, and so on. They're already embracing several software as a service applications, if not as a replacement for PeopleSoft, then for other areas of their business. And most C-level executives have some sort of a cloud strategy in place. So moving to cloud really is not new anymore for customers. Now the question is, what happens to PeopleSoft along with all the other workloads that you have in your data center or in a colo? And that's what we'll talk about today. So I think the common thing that we're hearing from customers over and over again, and this is really a story that has not changed over the last 15, 20 years, is that running PeopleSoft on-premise is still a very challenging task. The larger your installation, the more number of instances you have, the larger your user base, the more modules and features and business processes you've implemented, the more challenging this application gets. And it's not because of lack of skill or lack of manpower. Most ERP applications like PeopleSoft do take a lot of effort and cost, and it becomes challenging. So in the on-prem world, what customers are telling us and what we've found from experience is that the operational cost of managing, maintaining PeopleSoft, and this cost includes a lot of different things. It includes your hardware costs, your software costs, your people costs, your facility costs, your cost for testing, for security, a number of things. These are very high in the on-prem world. And when I say high, it's in comparison to what they could be in the cloud, which we think it'll be much lower than on-premise. And then along with that, there is a low degree of automation, which means that if you have automation, then it is piecemeal. If you bought one product from one vendor, another from another, and you are responsible for stitching these solutions together, or you have some homegrown solutions that may not be as robust as what you can find elsewhere. Right now, so breaking that down, I think customers are telling us, and we're seeing this again and again, that there's a lot of time being consumed from building to patching to cloning. And it's because things are done manually, because in the on-prem world, there's no single set of integrated automation tools that you can use to manage the full stack for PeopleSoft. And by full stack, I mean the infrastructure, the database, the applications, the network layer, the governance layer, all put together, right? And then you're very resource dependent. You have small teams in some cases you have large teams, but your resources are constantly busy, and they're busy with support, they're busy with maintenance, and you have limited bandwidth. In some cases, customers are also facing aging workforce challenges. So people who've had tenure, who've been with your organization since the day PeopleSoft is implemented, they're now leaving or retiring, and it's becoming hard for you to find replacement skills. And then because a lot of these tasks are done manually, there is a chance of introducing error, and that error obviously causes heartache and pain when it comes to production rollouts. So the solution that we want to talk to you today is why you should consider cloud and expect lower operational costs with a high degree of automation by moving PeopleSoft to cloud. Okay, so a little bit more about what PeopleSoft customers are telling us. This is just some things that I've captured, some sound bites from various conferences and online events. My team is constantly busy with PeopleSoft maintenance and support, yet we are behind on upgrades and patches. I was talking to a customer last week, and they put it in this way. They said, we are on the wheel 100% of the time, which means that they're spinning and spinning, and all of that effort is being spent on just keeping the system current. They're now thinking about taking on an 8.6 tools upgrade, and for them, it's a 6 to 9 month project to patch 3 to 4 different applications with multiple instances, right? The business is continuously demanding more features and more value out of the PeopleSoft investment, but the technology team is saying we don't have the bandwidth to invest in implementing those new features. Now, as you all know, PeopleSoft has been putting out image updates at a very regular interval. So on a quarterly basis, I think going into 2023, they announced that they'd be doing 3 per year instead of 4 per year for FSEM and financials and other applications. With each of these images and with People Tools upgrades like 8.608, the new release, you're getting a lot of new features, some cool features, some features that you've asked for through the community page. But if you don't take advantage of that, if you're not implementing it, then your maintenance dollars are not really being put to use. And then there's always the cost issue. There's always downward pressures. There's talk of a recession. There's slowdown on the business front, so which means lesser investment, which means that you have to do more with what you already have, which also means that you have to come up with more ways to automate the things that you do, which take less time and less effort. And then last thing is, again, resources. So the resources to manage your security threats. In the past, I think we were all a little complacent. And I have members in my team who were in the industry, who were on the customer side, and now they're in our team providing consulting services. And what I found is that PeopleSoft has always been thought of, oh, that's behind our firewall, that's in our back office, and we really don't have to worry so much about security. But really, if you think about it, PeopleSoft is the data store that has all of your valuable information. It has human capital information, your financials and supply chain information, your student information, and so on. And you really have to make sure that it is fully protected. It is encrypted, it is protected, it is behind firewalls, and there's a constant threat. If you ask your network security team, they'll tell you you're probably getting hundreds of threats on a daily basis that they're thwarting using a variety of security tools, but it is becoming ever more challenging and complex to keep up with that, right? So all of this, my way of looking at this is that you're in this sort of a PeopleSoft groundhog day. You wake up every day, it seems like just like the previous day. It's the same old set of challenges, maybe slightly nuanced, but it's the same thing every day, and people are trying hard to get out of that. So let's talk about what some of the common business drivers are. This is not by any means the only reasons why customers are moving to the cloud, but these are the most common ones. The first one is you're coming up on a hardware refresh. You may have commodity hardware, you may have Oracle engineered systems like Exadata, you may have something from Dell like a VMware ESXi cluster, whatever it may be that is running your PeopleSoft applications today. And that may be coming up on a refresh. So instead of spending hundreds of thousands of dollars or maybe even millions, depending on how large your installation is, you should consider eliminating that capital outlay and using subscription-based services in the cloud instead, because then you get away from this whole refresh cycle. You're always on the latest hardware under the virtualization platform, and everything is an as-a-service model where you're not really procuring, racking, and installing those systems. Second thing is agility. I think customers, more than anything else, they're saying, even if our data center is fine and our hardware is great and we have the right performance, the time to market value of things is not there, which means as soon as something's available, can I flip a switch? Can I turn things on? Can I prototype it? Can I go through a fast test cycle? And can I deploy a feature that makes my business more competitive, that makes my users more productive? I think that's the agility that customers are looking for. There are customers who are still struggling with refreshes, something that should be a very basic task, but a refresh takes days for some customers. Getting a new development instance and getting all the right settings in that development instance is not an automated task by any means. It takes days. Again, they create the instance and they log a series of tickets. I'm sure this is familiar to many of you. And the tickets are, oh, you built the instance, but you didn't put this integration piece in, you didn't put the security piece in. So all of that contributes to that agility requirement. Security, we already spoke about that. This is top of mind for everybody, and then cost, right? So these are the four main reasons why customers are trying to take advantage of cloud. Now, when you think about cloud, you really have to be able to find something tangible as a return on your cloud investment, because there is some upfront cost to move to the cloud, but you should see some return on investment in year 2, year 3. So typically what you would work with your partner like Astute or with Oracle is you would ask us to build a total cost of ownership model that shows your cost outlays year by year on-prem, compare that with the cloud version of it, and you should see a benefit. Now, the benefit is not always in hard dollar saving. Sometimes you may just break even. You may say, I spend $1 million a year on my PeopleSoft on-prem, and I go to the cloud, I'm still spending $1 million a year. But for that, I'm getting more security, more automation, higher performance, and so on and so forth. So you can make a business case based on that as well. Right. So as I was saying earlier, cloud is really table stakes these days. It is not considered cutting edge. It is the new normal. And all the people that we talk to in the C-suite on a regular basis, they all agree with that. So moving to PeopleSoft is not considered cutting edge or something new. Hundreds and hundreds of customers are live with their PeopleSoft production applications in the cloud, and many more are moving as we speak. So what are PeopleSoft customers doing today, right? There's always all these things that are challenges, and there are issues, and there are the day-to-day headaches of managing a large enterprise application like PeopleSoft. But what are customers really doing with their applications? So the majority of PeopleSoft customers are still upgrading to new releases. This doesn't mean that everybody is on the latest PUM image or on the latest tools release all the time, but I think the vast majority of customers are staying current, right? And they are maybe a few images behind. They're selectively adopting. They're doing get current updates once a year, once in 2 years, somewhere in between. They're doing people tools upgrades once in 2 years, maybe once in 3. And they are trying to keep up with security and infrastructure updates. And they're doing this, whether they're doing this on-prem or in the cloud, customers are doing this. Now, the degree of efficiency definitely will vary depending on whether they're doing this on-prem or in the cloud. And we have plenty of examples where we can show you the before and after if you want a follow-on conversation. PeopleSoft customers are looking to add value where it makes sense, right? Customers are not overhauling their entire application. They're not re-implementing PeopleSoft. They're not trying to undo years and years of customizations all in one shot. But things like Kibana analytics and fluid improvements and automation through workflow and activity guides, these are just some call outs. These are areas where customers are taking a hard look and they're looking at ways to take advantage of this, because some of these things you can implement this yourselves. You don't really need a partner to help you. In some cases, you may need a partner, and we're happy to assist, right? And most PeopleSoft customers now have a cloud-first strategy. So many of you are actively exploring a SaaS replacement for PeopleSoft, and we know that. And you're looking at the top players. There's Oracle SaaS, there's Workday. Those are the top two in every customer's consideration, but there may be some others as well, depending on the market that you're in, the industry that you're in, and so on. Then customers are also moving to Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. Now here we are seeing a big move, because this is in many ways an interim step to getting to software as a service. The first realization that customers come to is that they are really not in the business of managing large-scale data centers. Their primary business is education or retail or insurance or healthcare, and they want to focus on that. They don't want to become a large IT provider of services and run multiple data centers. So they are moving a lot of their workloads to cloud infrastructure. And many customers are moving into Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. And then some PeopleSoft customers are already on SaaS or actively engaged in implementing SaaS. So this is not a surprise at all. This is bound to happen. We believe and understand that all customers are eventually going to go to SaaS. It's a matter of when and not if. But the question is, are you ready to do that? Is your organization ready to do that? Do you have the money to invest in a SaaS implementation? Because there is no easy button to go from PeopleSoft to SaaS. You have to re-implement, you have to undo all of your customizations, and you have to maybe make some business process changes. So there's a lot involved in that. So many customers are reinvesting in PeopleSoft and extending the life of their PeopleSoft applications, while some are moving ahead with SaaS implementations, right? So to make the business case for PeopleSoft, you can consider these three core pillars. You can think about cost, you can think about performance, and you can think about innovation. Now, I've given you an example on the new feature adoption with chatbots and analytics and robotic process automation, but this is just a sample list. There are many more things you could do to modernize PeopleSoft, to optimize PeopleSoft, and to really show that PeopleSoft can deliver business value, right? If you're doing an upgrade just for the sake of doing an upgrade and to stay current, but without turning on any new features, that's fine. Being current is important, but the business is not seeing any value. They are not seeing any return in the time they invest to help you test those upgrades and validate that the software is still working, right? So I think that's important. Some of you have genuine challenges around performance, around disaster recovery. Some of you have had data center issues, so you should look at those as well. And depending on those factors, you can tweak this business case. But these are some of the common things that every customer is looking at when they're writing their business case. And if you need help in writing the business case, we are happy to do that. We have done this for many of our customers. That's an investment in your future success that we're willing to make. So if you've made the business case, if you've understood the value proposition, made the business case, received management approval, then the question that you're asking yourself is, where does your cloud journey begin? And again, there are different starting points for different customers. Not every customer starts with a lift and shift at PeopleSoft. And the reason for that is you may still have some life left in your on-premise systems, but you want to take advantage of cloud. So you may say, I'm going to do my upgrade in the cloud. I'm going to take advantage of Cloud Manager and some automation there. Or you may say, my on-prem system is fine for now, but I really need help with disaster recovery. I don't want to be caught off guard if a disaster hits or if I have a data center outage. So disaster recovery in the cloud is something that customers are investing in. Others are looking at chatbots and analytics, where that may be the first step into the cloud with Autonomous Data Warehouse, Oracle Analytics Cloud that is powered by machine learning, Oracle Digital Assistant for chatbots. There are many ways to get started with cloud. And for those of you who have been unfortunately attacked by malware or ransomware attacks, we know that's happening, then security may be the first step that you take. You want to improve your security posture. You want full stack encryption, things like that, better monitoring, better edge protection at the data center. So cloud may be the best way to accomplish that. You can simplify your migration using a process like this. This is something that we use with all of our customers, and it works really well. And it all starts with discovery and visioning and defining your target architecture, right? So now for many of you, moving to the cloud can be an as-is migration. And that is what we typically mean by a lift and shift, which means that we are not changing your database, we are not changing your operating system, we are not upgrading or patching or changing the versions of your PUM images or People Tools versions or your third-party software that is required for PeopleSoft. We're just moving everything as is to the cloud. So that's one way of doing it. But in some cases, you may benefit by re-architecting PeopleSoft, by upgrading while you're moving to the cloud, getting to the latest version of database, for example, or People Tools. And that is what we would call a move and improve. And several customers have done upgrades as part of the move to the cloud and taken advantage of the speed with which you can do that in the cloud. But it's important when you're doing all of this to understand that there is a change management element. There are certain risks with moving to the cloud. Yes, it's not all easy buttons and, hey, we'll just hand it over to Astute Business Solutions and they'll come back one day and say it's all done and we'll be happy with that. It does not work like that. We're still dealing with technology, so there are going to be some challenges. And there are people challenges, there are technology challenges, there are financial issues. I think it just is important for everybody to be aware of that and manage that. These are not showstoppers by any means. These can easily be overcome. But advising customers and planning with your stakeholders and managing that risk and change and being transparent and having good communications are really important for a successful cloud migration. And then there'll be a series of tools and accelerators that will get you to the cloud faster, that will speed up integration, speed up testing, and so on and so forth. So we can talk more in detail about that if there are some questions or if somebody has an interest in knowing more about how that migration would work. Right, so now let's talk a little bit about why Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. I know you're going to hear a lot about this from your Oracle reps and when you go to an Oracle conference, but customers today truly have choice and have had choice of cloud providers for a while now. Obviously, we have Amazon Web Services. They basically created this entire category of cloud computing that we all know and use today. We have Azure, which is Microsoft's public cloud offering, which for a while was in second place, but now they're globally the leader in public cloud. And then you have Oracle, that a few years ago, people thought it was just something that Larry Ellison would say at conferences and everybody would get a laugh out of it. But Oracle has shown that they have the ability to invest in a global, scalable, what Gartner and other analysts call a hyperscaler solution for cloud. And they've now successfully demonstrated that not only can they move PeopleSoft to cloud or Oracle EBS or JD Edwards or Oracle databases, but customers are now moving entire data centers to Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. And we're working on some projects like that too. Customers are working on moving OpenStack workloads on third-party systems that are packaged applications or homegrown custom applications to the cloud. So it's no longer just for Oracle apps. I think Oracle has proven and continues to grow in that space. So let's look at some of the reasons why. So the value proposition in a simplified version is Oracle really has rebuilt its entire business on cloud and for cloud. So this is not just for the infrastructure side of things, but Oracle, as you all know, has built software as a service applications for finance, HR, procurement, supply chain, CRM, you name it, right? They have applications, and they're doing extremely well on that front. Very competitive and highly rated by all the analysts. And some of the largest brands in the world, most recognized logos, are using software as a service with Oracle Cloud. Oracle Cloud Infrastructure gives you the ability to use things in the public cloud, implement a hybrid cloud model. There's edge computing. But what you'll find is Oracle Cloud Infrastructure is the only public cloud provider that has financially backed end-to-end SLAs. And this is really important for everyone to understand. What do we mean by financially backed end-to-end SLAs? The first thing is the SLA itself is public knowledge. So if you just Google Oracle Cloud Infrastructure SLA, you'll get a page that defines Oracle's SLA commitment to its customers. But in that page, you'll also find that Oracle states, and this goes into your contract as well, that if the SLA is missed, then Oracle is going to give you financial rewards back, as in credits towards your cloud implementation or your cloud consumption. And then it is the only cloud that we see that has the complete stack automation for PeopleSoft applications, from network to infrastructure to database to application management to the governance and monitoring layers on top and security as well. So I think there's been a lot of work that's gone into this over the last 6 to 8 years, and it is showing in the fact that some of the largest customers in the world and some of the smallest customers in the world at the same time have trusted OCI as their destination for PeopleSoft. Now, the vertical integration that we talk about and that you should experience and understand is that when we talk about vertical integration, we mean the full stack. Now, if you go to some other cloud provider, you'll get something for infrastructure, something for database, and something else for monitoring. But with Oracle, you get everything that is cloud native for all of these services. Obviously, database cloud as a service, Oracle Database Cloud as a platform service is where Oracle shines. You get all the options, including autonomous database, which is certified for PeopleSoft, is only available on OCI, nowhere else, right? Well, actually, I should take that back. Recently, at Cloud World, it was announced that it is also now available on Azure, Microsoft Azure, but it is an Oracle Cloud Database Service running. Oracle has been growing steadily. This actually information is outdated because just this morning I saw an update from Oracle that Gartner has recognized them in their latest Magic Quadrant as a visionary for cloud infrastructure, and now they're in 40 regions, not 39. So this, back when we started with OCI, there were 2 regions and they were only in the US. And now we are at 40. So that's tremendous growth in the last 5 years. And there is more growth coming and more expansion. So availability pretty much in every continent. If you're concerned about data privacy, data sovereignty, none of those things are a problem if you're moving to OCI. Some more things on the value proposition. I think I'll skip forward and talk about Cloud Manager, which is really an important differentiator if you're considering PeopleSoft to OCI. And I'll spend maybe another 5 to 6 minutes on presentation, and then we'll pause for questions. So Cloud Manager is a lifecycle management utility that allows you to deploy, maintain, manage, patch, and start up and shut down your PeopleSoft workloads on cloud with a high degree of automation. As you would expect, it's fully integrated into the Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, database service, infrastructure service, networking services, and so on, so that through that Cloud Manager window or console, you can manage not just the PeopleSoft administration tasks, but the entire infrastructure on which it is running. And you'll find as you see this and use this, and by the way, if anybody's interested in a demo, please feel free to contact us through our website or put a message in the chat window here, and I'll make a note of it. We do these quite often where we show customers how this works and how they can take advantage of it. So Cloud Manager is really a big differentiator. And with every release, Cloud Manager has grown in capability and has developed more and more automation features that customers can take advantage of. Simple things like cloning and refreshes and people tools patching and people tools upgrades and subscribing to your PRPs or PUM image updates, all of these things are fully automated when you use Cloud Manager, right? So definitely worth looking into. And then with the most recent image, they introduced Policy Manager. So Policy Manager allows you to further automate lifecycle tasks. So if, for example, if you want to always have the latest PUM image up and running as soon as it's available, now you don't even have to go into Cloud Manager and perform those tasks by clicking on the image and asking it to deploy the image on a VM. You can automate that. You can optimize your pre-production environments if you want to throttle the consumption in the cloud, which means because cloud is a subscription service, right? So as long as the instance is running, you're paying subscription rates for the infrastructure, for the database, and so on, for storage. But many of you can use the Policy Manager to automatically shut down and start up non-production environments on a schedule and control your costs on cloud that way. You can also optimize production environments when you want to scale them up, especially your application mid-tier like web server and app server for peak workloads, and then scale them back to a steady state model. You can do that in a fully automated manner. And then, of course, you have some operational services as well for backups and things like that that you might be doing ad hoc today or manually, and you can automate those as well. Right? There's more to it than just Cloud Manager and infrastructure and database. You can think about data science. PeopleSoft has integrated into Oracle Data Science Cloud. If you have large volumes of data, and these data sets don't necessarily have to come from PeopleSoft applications. They can be PeopleSoft, and you can mash up data from other sources as well. Okay, so let's spend a few minutes understanding what the anatomy of a successful PeopleSoft move to OCI would look like. So I think a lot depends on how you plan and how you manage your project. Needless to say, right? This holds true for every project, but in the cloud, I think understanding architecture and making some important design decisions upfront with Oracle, with your partner, is really going to determine the success of your project. Now, the network architecture, the network security model that you build, and the options that you put in for firewall and monitoring, those are really decisions that you'll have to make upfront. You'll also make some decisions upfront on what type of database you want and whether you want the ability to scale or not, and what regions you want your applications to be in, depending on geographical proximity, what type of network connectivity is important for you. So VPN is included for free with all the cloud providers, including OCI, but if you want a high bandwidth connection, then you have to invest in Fast Connect, which is basically a dedicated circuit. And then, what sort of monitoring and backup requirements do you have for production versus non-production? Are the automated backups sufficient, or do you need to tweak them? All of these things matter, so you have to take this into consideration. The testing and user acceptance part is going to be roughly about 50% of a cloud migration project in terms of elapsed time and effort. So that's where you will play as a customer a significant role in participating in and validating that whatever was moved from your data center to the cloud is still the same application. Everything works as it was working before. Everything is fully integrated, including your security application, security models. These are what we would call the fundamentals, and these are some of the things that I was describing. Some additional things here to think about is what is your high availability requirement, right? What is your disaster recovery requirement? What are your cost management objectives? And that will play into what we were talking about earlier with Policy Manager, doing automation, using automation to perform startup and shutdown, to clone and to patch and so on and so forth. So a lot of these decisions that you make in these areas will then be translated into the various automation tools and services and capabilities that you can take advantage of during your implementation. But the overall theme for your move to the cloud should be, as we have used and experienced with all of our customers. We've done over 55 migrations to the cloud already with PeopleSoft Customers to OCI. It's really business as usual, but better. And this is largely applicable to the as-is migration to the cloud. So we are not introducing net new customization, neither are we taking away any of your customizations. This includes bolt-on applications that you may have developed, and some of you have Pathlock's Appian product, which is also built into PeopleSoft. So when we lift and shift PeopleSoft, you get that along with your PeopleSoft migration in the cloud with very little, changes or impact to that solution. All of your integrations are still supported in the cloud, whether they're DB links or flat files or REST APIs. You may just be repointing them to new IPs and new host names, but because you're moving the PeopleSoft servers to the cloud. But other than that, the integration protocols and the programs don't have to change. For your end users, and this is really important from a change management perspective, the way they access PeopleSoft still is the same. They can go to a URL on their browser, click on it, log in with the same credentials. If you're using a third-party SSO solution, that can be brought to the cloud. You can go with cloud-native authentication and authorization services. Many of you have Microsoft Azure as your Active Directory and MFA solution. That can easily be federated into OCI if you have that requirement. But it should be seamless to the end users. Now, we can even architect it to the point where the URL does not have to change. If they go to something.peoplesoft.com/HR/production, whatever your URL is today, we can work with software-defined networking to make sure that even those URLs don't have to change. The users don't have to change their shortcuts or bookmarks. They go to the same URL, it'll just point them to PeopleSoft running in the cloud. The goal here is really to minimize disruption and to make this very seamless, while behind the scenes, you get all the advantages of security and performance and automation. And these are some of the automation tools that we would use in a project. So everything that we build on cloud infrastructure and platform, we would build with infrastructure as code, which is Ansible, Terraform, some combination of that. There is a really vast cloud library that you can use for integration, APIs, and command line interfaces and things like that. There's Database Cloud, which includes automated backups, automated provisioning, one-click patching, Oracle Enterprise Manager for monitoring. And we like using RACware, which is an Oracle ISV partner that has a migration platform and a disaster recovery platform service, which is cost-effective but delivers a very high degree of automation. And we've found that this service makes it really easy to move workloads at scale to the cloud very quickly. And then the last thing I would say is the templates that Oracle provides and that we have taken and modified for PeopleSoft. The reference architectures are already in place, the experience is already in place, the customer success stories are out there for you to validate. When we come to a new project and start working on design, we're not starting from scratch. We're taking all of these tools and prescribing to you that this is the best place to start. Here are all the best practices already built into this architecture. Let's review this with you, and then if you have specific requirements, let's layer that on top of all of these things rather than starting from scratch. So that allows us to get off to a fast start. Okay, so here's some common RACI for cloud migration. As those of you are thinking about what will my role be, what will Oracle do, what will the vendor do? So you have the options in front of you where you can have a vendor like Astute come in and deliver a turnkey solution for cloud migration. Or you can say, I would like to do my team to do some of the work where I would like Astute to come in and assist in some areas that are new to us. Absolutely okay with that. Or you may have a team that's already very familiar with cloud migrations and you just need some on-demand support while you're doing this yourself. So we're happy to engage in any of those models. But I'll just let you read this screen for a little bit. What you'll see is that the majority in this one, this is really close to a turnkey solution where the bulk of the heavy lifting is done by Astute and the rest of the work is done by you, the customer. And your support is really called for in the on-prem environment and also with integration and user acceptance. Here's what a sample migration plan would look like. And now this is for a smaller project, maybe with 1 or 2 applications, but for some of the larger customers, our timelines have been 16 weeks, 20 weeks, 24 weeks even, depending on how large the project is and how complex the migration is, and depending on the customer's availability. Just because we can move things really fast doesn't mean the customer can be there at every step of the way and be ready to test it. Because we are not assuming that this is the only project that you're working on. There are many other commitments that you and your teams have. We understand that. So, but we can move as fast as this, or we can build a model that's tailored to your pace. There are lots of resources. I'll make this presentation available on the Pathlock website. Feel free to visit our website, but I'll just conclude with why you should consider working with Astute, right? These are some numbers here. Over 55 successful cloud migration projects, over 200 years of core experience in our core leadership team, a lot of depth in PeopleSoft, in integration, in security, in managed services. And not only can we move your PeopleSoft applications, we can move Exadata, we can move eBusiness Suite, we can move you to Oracle Analytics Cloud. We've done a lot of VMware migrations. We've done containerized workloads in Kubernetes. We've worked on some OpenStack solutions. So we are happy to provide all of these services to you. And then as a value proposition to close out the presentation, this is who we are. We have a lot of experience in our team. We believe strongly in hiring the right people for the right performance, holding our teams accountable for performance and the work that they do, the work ethics that we bring. We have operational efficiencies. We are SOC 2 Type 2 certified. All of our processes are ISO based. We are an Oracle CSP cloud service provider, which means we get audited annually by Oracle using a third-party auditor on how well we execute our projects, our managed service models, and so on. We have a lot of expertise. We have PeopleSoft expertise, EBS expertise, cloud expertise, migration and implementation services. So we encourage you to take us up on all of these things and work with us, even if you're in the knowledge gathering phase, even if you're just putting information together or trying to understand what's the best option for you. And then our business value is really the investments we make in automation and transformation that could benefit you directly when you work with us on our projects. So thank you for your time today. I'll pause here and I'll look at the chat window and see what questions there are, if any. And Stephanie, if you have any questions, I'm happy if you can read those out. If there aren't any questions, then we can wait for a few minutes and then conclude.
Thank you, Arvind, for your presentation. And again, if you have any questions, please add them now into the question box. You will find that on your control panel. And while we wait for any of those to come in, I just wanted to point you to our chat box. I put a link in the chat box for the schedule of events for today. We have several more sessions coming up today, and if you would like to register for any of those, please go ahead and click on that link to do so. And with that, I'm not seeing any questions, but if you have any, please feel free to email us at events@pathlock.com, and we will make sure that it goes to the right person. And with that, we just wanted to say thank you so much, and we hope to see you at future events.
Thank you.